Hey, Patrick. It looks like there's enough of the gang here to get rocking. Um, hey, Ian. Hey, Jim. Hey, Kenny. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have had a really monumental week or so. Lots to talk about. I'll let Ed give the numbers on the year-end transactions, but as people may know, the board agreed to conduct a series of year-end transactions. Basically, that was a bit of a runaway train. The board vote was 6-2 with one person not participating. And so it passed either way. So there was some caution around those transactions, and the membership should be aware of that. But we ended up closing over $16 million worth of sales of the ROC token at 35 cents a ROC, which was a weighted average that we calculated. And made that available equally, exactly the same to all members of the co-op. And then we had some other board action. One, we have agreed the terms of the PyroFX sale, and the final language, I think, was just sent to me for closing today. Effectively, the deal was agreed in 2017. We're just inking the terms today, the terms of that will be available. But the essence of it is that PyroFX is now going to be officially building out the CryptoFX developer tools for the RChain network. So we're extremely excited about that. Nash, did you want to say anything more about it?
I don't think I have anything more to say, but I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay, well, moving along then, there was also some good movement with respect to, thanks, Patrick, good movement with respect to ventures. And that's spilling over into an arrangement with holdings, we hope. At least the discussions are underway that way. So what people should be aware is that the board looked at the ventures offer and decided to make a counter offer where we would set up a fund and make the make the co-op essentially an LP in that fund, with Ventures as a manager of the fund. And I spoke about that arrangement with Greg Heiss last week, and we reached an in-principle agreement last week on that structure as well. So we'll have get that language nailed down, but essentially that arrangement is amenable to all parties. So we'll be putting all of the detailed language out for the membership to review. And so that, I think, covers most of the major action towards the end of the year. And I think that was at least with respect to board decisions. We also had the release, the hello.node release. So we were quite excited about that. So that's a lot of stuff to cover. Let me just stop there and see if there are any questions about all the things that we covered. Lively group, this group in 2018, partying too much in New Year's, huh? So I think one of the things I would love for Ed to talk about was his experience closing out the sale. He has some really nice things to say.
I do indeed. Hello, everyone. Yeah, this weekend was quite a whirlwind. Saturday, I had about, Friday night, had about 3 or 4 conversations. Earlier in that day, Kenny and Greg closed a couple of big deals. And then Saturday, talked to about 16 people. Navneet talked to a few. And Sunday, I talked to about 6 or 7 people. And Navneet also talked to a few. And so many conversations over the weekend. And, they took about a half-hour piece on average. Um, and I just am so appreciative of our community. Many people took time to express how great they are of, our standard hangouts such as this one, where we're quite transparent about updates. We're showing progress. It's very obvious we have not just a lively community and progress on the dev team, but we're also quite welcoming to their views and on Discord and so forth. So it was just really heartwarming to hear how people appreciate that. And in contrast to many other projects that seem very opaque about their progress and so forth. Many of these individuals are the second or third time I've talked to them, having helped them transact back in September and so forth. And so just to reconnect with them as well. Some of these purchasers are members of our community that and are very supportive of RChain. And so I was just delighted. And then also, there's follow-on conversations to these of some of these, folks want to know how they can help more by, getting involved in spreading the word, helping with things from marketing materials or content or introductions and so forth. And so it was just really nice to connect on a one-on-one basis with so many people this weekend. I came in a little late to the call, so I don't know, Greg, if you highlighted the statistics, but we closed about $16 million worth of rock sales, and so just phenomenal interest level. So that will help us tremendously.
Thanks, Ed. Yeah, absolutely. And I want to give special thanks to all those who worked all throughout the Christmas holidays.
Yeah. So Kenny and Lisa and Ian was doing a lot of onboarding of new members. So thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks to everyone and to all the people who, all the members who participated in the end of year transactions. So I really appreciate that. It was remarkable to see this kind of support. And I'm happy to say that I feel quite confident now that we can get to Mercury and beyond. So that feels very good. Speaking of which, I thought maybe Meta could give us an update on the technical front.
Happy to do so. Happy New Year, everyone. Good morning. So we closed out sprint number 6. We let that sprint go an extra week to allow for the holiday. And I'm very pleased to report that in addition to the release, we made fantastic progress towards the SDK.01 release that we intend to drop sometime in January, February, depending how these things go. Our goal is to have a very nice, crisp, stable .1 Rolang SDK release, and that's going to include the virtual machine, the C++ Rosette RBL interpreter, as well as a flavor of the Rolang compiler and the language specification. Made great progress on the virtual machine, bringing that up to modern tools. We now have a run line, a run command on the command line where you can run the RBL, basically a compiled Rolang program. which is a nice feature. And we continue to make progress in terms of bringing it up to date, bringing it up to modern levels. We did some great work on the unification, the specification, and the compiler. So pushing really hard to deliver that to the community because we want to increase engagement with the language. So that's really great progress. I'm pleased to report on that. And then we've had some nice engagement on the node.hello release. We've got about 35, 36 downloads of the Docker image. And we are able to look at the quote unquote testnet node that's running in the PowerFX data center. And we can see that anytime we've got 2 or 3 nodes that are connected, people are downloading the software, running the node, connecting it up to the testnet, and then eventually turning it off because the node doesn't do much. We are calling for feedback. So if there's any feedback that you have to offer, please do send us a note on the Gitter channel for releases or on the public Discord so we can get some feedback on the release. What if there's any issues that you had, good feedback. Bad feedback is obviously more appreciated because it helps us improve the product. So lots of nice, we've been monitoring that node for the logs, and we're seeing some activity there. So that's really nice to see as well. We made some great progress on documentation for the SDK release. Mike is building a how to use Rolang tutorial. So that's going to be really great to help drive engagement on the language front as well. Made some good progress on the Roscala project plan. Tim came through in terms of triaging all the tickets that we had initially created and story point sizing the ones that remain. We're looking at about, depending on the velocity, anywhere from 4 to 5 sprints to be done with the transition functions. So it's a very aggressive timeline, and I still really want to pull that timeline in, but we are starting to gain more clarity and crispness around what it's going to take to finish the VM. And we've had great engagement on the bounty program. We've got a lot of nice work that's happening on the primitives. So that's really awesome, and I encourage the community members to pick up those bounties. I'm intending on releasing some more bounty tickets around RBL programs. We need RBL programs to help us test the virtual machine, both the translation to Roscala as well as the new VM, right? The C++ VM. So we've got the new Scala VM, which is a translation of the C++, and then the legacy C++ VM that we're bringing up to speed. And we need a test suite for this written in RBL. So I'll be putting out some more bounty tickets to get that work done. So if you know anybody in the community that's interested in writing some Rosette programs, we'll be dropping some of those bounty tickets out there for people to pick up on. So lots of great work that's happening. Any questions? Going once, going twice. That was a lot. I said I'm sorry if I spoke really quickly. Anyone wants me to repeat anything?
No, that was awesome. No one can ever fault us for the information density of our of our updates.
Okay, great. You can always catch me on Discord if you think of something later on. That's my update. Thank you. No,
thank you, Meta. So then there's a lot of upcoming stuff. In particular, we have the governance forum coming up in the middle of February, and I hope everyone who is a member is considering coming or will join some of the sessions via Zoom. It's going to be in Seattle from the 15th through the 18th of February. We have some very interesting folks lined up, and hopefully a lot of hands-on experience of what self-organization might mean. So high levels of self-organization to be accessed for all those who are going to be able to join. And we also have, I'll be visiting the Perm Winter School and talking with Sergey and team about being able to deliver our node software into their exchanges. So that's that is going to be underway at the end of January. And then I also, on the return, will be visiting, hopefully with Hans Hotel at Aalborg. I got his university wrong. I thought it was Aarhus, but he's at Aalborg. I'll also hopefully be visiting Aarhus, and with any luck, also Reykjavik University on the return. And the idea there is to begin to get sort of a steady engagement from academia to provide both research talent, but also potentially other kinds of technical talent into the RChain community from institutions that have expertise in the kinds of technologies and mathematics that we're using to build out RChain. So I'm very, very excited about that, about those opportunities. And I also am going to say a little bit about we're going to be spinning up a research team in the co-op who will be responsible for a number of different things. One of which is making sure that there's early prototyping efforts to inform what's going on in terms of feature sets for Venus and Earth, the Earth releases, so that we're crisp about what's in and what's out on those two releases. Additionally, we want to be pushing the envelope with respect to consensus, and in particular, looking at sort of the impacts of quantum computing on our consensus, our approach to distributed consensus. And then there will be some other fun engagements that have to do with marketing and penetration of the RChain technology into new markets and new communities. So to that end, I think last week I spoke a little bit about Primavera de Filippi and her Plantoid project. So I'll speak a little bit more about that. We're still sort of coordinating when she can join the Hangout. But so her Plantoid idea is really quite intriguing. It's a combination of a physical extension. It's a sculpture, and the sculpture has some moving parts, but also a smart contract portion. So the smart contract basically allows for the community that supports Plantoid to vote on the next iteration of the Plantoid. So the replacement of the existing Plantoid sculpture with its next generation. And then the money that's collected as a part of the voting process that selects the next design goes to the creator, who will then create the next version of the Plantoid sculpture. So it shares with biological systems a kind of. Hang on one second, I'll be right back.
So, Peter, do you have some insights onto Planetoid as well?
Just come across it a few times and got to meet with Primavera, and I think it's just an incredibly genius idea about how smart contracts can exist in so many different dimensions, and it's also really innovative to the notion of what art is, how it relates to public space. And I think it's just the fact that she's even gone and done it has reverberated out. And now there's a project that's about a self-owning forest system over here in Berlin. So I think it's really an incredible project that she's done and has inspired lots of people in different areas. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, sorry about the interruption there. My wife was calling, and I need to make sure that everything was okay. So yeah, absolutely. So the next step, and part of the reason we want to support this next step of Plantoid is that she wants to have a algorithmic generation of music and added to the next iteration of Plantoid. And it turns out that we have, I developed an approach to the generation of music that's really that seems to fit well with her goals and desiderata. So the approach that we're taking is quite simple. You take a transcendental number like pi or e, and rewrite it using a spigot algorithm in base 22. Why 22? Well, because most sort of popular music lives inside 3 octaves. So that would be 21. And then you want a rest. So that's 22. So you want some opportunity for silence. And so if you rewrite, say, pi in base 22, then you get an infinite sequence of pitches. And all of those pitches are consonant with respect to, a major scale. If you then, but pitches do not make a note. You need at least a duration. So then you take another transcendental number, let's say E, and you write that in base 5. Why base 5? Well, because you have whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, and that's about the range of timescales that one finds in modern music. And so you take this additional transcendental number and you rewrite it in you rewrite it in base 5, and that gives you an infinite sequence of durations. So now you have these 2 infinite sequences. One is pitches and one is durations. Think of them as ribbons stretching off into infinity. So now with these ribbons, you have some basic operations. I don't know if people can see my camera here, but I'm using my hands. So imagine these ribbons stretching out from my hands, and I can do some basic gestures with my hands. I can whack these 2 ribbons together and they start zipping together. And where they zip, you get a pitch meeting a duration, and so now you have a note. And so that note can sound. And so now you get this steady stream of melody. And another thing you can do is you can stop the zipping. So you can unzip or halt the zipping, which will end the melodic expression at a certain point. Additionally, you can pull, you can yank one of the streams forward, right? Because it's infinite. You can unroll it like a ribbon, right? And then start zipping again, or so if you could advance the pitches, or you can advance the durations, and so that will provide a way to explore this melodic space. And then the final operation is you can twist the 2 ribbons. And so yes, you could potentially jump to arbitrary positions, but I'm trying to keep it physical, right? And so what this does is now it gives you a handful of basic operations for generating melodic content. And so yes, that's right, a Turing machine for music.
So, Greg, have you heard of Seth Ary's Zen tonality?
Not yet. No, I haven't looked into.
The idea is that any particular timbre will give you a dissonance curve.
Yes.
And many instruments have like the shape of a drum head or of the bell on a brass instrument, or the internal shape of the resonance chamber in a flute, etc. All of those control the timbre of the instrument. With Zentonality, it's digital instruments that dynamically change their timbre to match. Well, sorry, you can either pick a scale, arbitrary notes, and derive a timbre for instruments that makes them sound good, or you can dynamically change the timbre of the digital instruments to match whatever chord is being played.
That's very nice. That's very, yeah. I absolutely want to incorporate some of that kind of thinking. I've been researching that aspect of it for a few years now. So that's extremely nice refinement of those ideas. Yeah, thank you for that. We'll definitely want to incorporate that. Nash also suggested that we might want to run some of this through an AI to prettify it.
With David Cope's work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I pasted a link to the Zentonality page.
Fantastic. No, that's excellent. Really looking forward to diving into that. So you can see what Primavera wants to do is she wants to have photo sensors on the photo sensors on the plantoid sculpture, and so you can imagine if light is continually hitting it, then that's kind of the zipping operation. So it'll just play whatever the generated melody is. And then you can interrupt the light with various gestures across the photosensors, and that will be then mapped onto the handful of operations that I was talking about before. And then to round this out, how does this sort of fit into the RChain plan? Well, many people may remember from November, I mentioned that I really wanted to engage the Burning Man community. I think that burners would really resonate with the RChain community and our ethos and what we're attempting to do. And so I was looking for a way in, and then out of the blue, Primavera contacts me and says, "Hey, Plantoid has been accepted to Burning Man," which, these kinds of synchronicities are always a good sign. And so, would you like to engage on this? And I said, yes, of course. Let's pick up where we left off, because we've been talking since December of 2015 about this possibility of marrying this algorithmic approach to generating melody with plantoid. And so now we have the opportunity, and there's a very nice set of ways in which these fit together. What we want is a smart contract in Rolang that describes the evolution of plantoid, and then ultimately a smart contract that does the whole spigot algorithm thing and zipping and all of that. Initially, we'll probably have the spigot algorithm piece of it down at the Scala level, and then poke it through as a primitive in Rolang. But we'd love to do the whole thing in Rolang to kind of show off some of the capability and capacity in Rolang, and then with the whole thing wedded together, we can take it to Burning Man as an RChain project. And so I mentioned this to make connection with two things. One is these kinds of projects, which are crazy, wild, explorative. These are the kinds of projects that will come under the RChain research group, and hook up with the RChain marketing effort, and our desire to connect with specific communities. So that's that's that, and hopefully people can kind of get this the sense of fun and play here that we're going after. And then the other connection is with our resonant musical partners, and it looks like Peter Harris has stopped by. Maybe to talk about Resonate and what we
would be happy to. As you can as you might be able to hear, my 3-year-old has wandered into the room. It's close to her bedtime over here in Berlin, so she should be shuffling off to bed soon. Yes, I'll take a raisin. Thank you. So thanks, Greg, for the introduction. Happy to talk to the community. Very, very excited about what's possible in the new year as part of this collaboration goes. As a lot of people know that have been following Resonate, I really got into all of this at the advent of the launch of Ethereum, because I saw it as a possibility that maybe at last we would be able to bake fairness and transparency for artists right into the structure of the operating systems that manage these digital cultural organizations. Because what we have on the other side is really major corporations that are incentivized for their own purposes, and not for the needs of artists and their followers. And then, of course, as many that follow blockchain know, the realities about scalability sunk in, and it became very apparent that Ethereum was not going to be the platform that could deal with music distribution and the kind of volumes that transactions that the industry faces. So I had my eye on Greg a while back when I first heard about Scenario, and then got really super excited with the formation of RChain, considering that Resonate is also a cooperative. So the fact that the RChain platform is managed in a similar fashion is very, very close to my heart. Happy to answer any questions if anyone's got them, but that's my introduction.
Well, thank you, Peter. I thought that was really well said. Peter and I have also been looking carefully at the space and recognizing that if we drive it, if we come take a run at the space, the music space from a different angle, more from the touring and booking, as an initial approach, that we get a service that is profitable. And demonstrably so. And there are a number of partners that are happy to play in this space. And but also that the space ends up, this approach provides a vector for licensing and music sharing that is essentially comes obliquely. There's a requirement for identity here that is more, in some sense, more compelling. The identity necessary to rent a physical venue or make arrangements around a concert is fundamentally different because of the risk profile than the identity, the kind of online identity one needs for distribution of digital resources. Nobody dies if the identity isn't quite right on a digital song. The copying of a song, but there's considerably greater risk when when someone is renting out a venue for a concert. So there's a much stronger argument for getting the identity offering right from a touring and booking service. But once you have a whole bunch of identity information organized in RChain for that service, then it becomes much easier to then bootstrap off of that identity solution or service or offering to handle things like a digital distribution and digital sharing.
I have a question.
Absolutely, very well said.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, who had that question?
Yeah, this is Nathan.
Hey.
Hey, yeah, I met the guys at Musiconomy in Slovenia. They are working with Co-Founded. They raised $5 million a couple months ago, and they're focusing in the music space on referral marketing fees in order to share music. And I know them quite well. I'm helping them develop their product, and they're quite open to collaboration.
Oh, bravo! That's wonderful. We would love to engage them and talk to them and share with them what our goals are.
Yeah, we also, in our co-working space, there are multiple labels that I have the ear of that are willing to switch over should we develop a product that works for them. So I'm just kind of curious maybe we can chat offline about it, but I'm kind of curious what the possibilities here are for overlap.
Fantastic. Very nice. Very nice. Excellent.
Yeah, Nathan, happy to hook up later and have a side conversation.
Cool.
Very good. So let's see. I think we've covered most of the stuff we wanted to cover. Lisa, was there anything we wanted to cover from the finance perspective?
Hi, Greg. Nope, not yet. Hopefully, as I get towards the end of the month, I'll be able to give an update. But I think, the most important thing was covered by Ed, and that was the numbers related to the private sale. And but other than that, no, I'm just starting to bang through the end of December and get that in good shape.
Very good. Very good. Appreciate it. Unless there's any other stuff we want to talk about, I am more than happy to yield back the whatever it is, 23 minutes to the community.
Greg.
Yes.
Greg, I just had one thing. Just wanted to make a couple of introductions. New members to the community who participated with me in the private raise. I think they'll be really valuable. The two guys are Ankur Prasad, who head of marketing of the App Store at Amazon. He went to undergrad with me and went to Stanford. Another guy's Amir. He's the head of digital and customer innovation at Amazon and was actually featured on Forbes's 30 under 30 list this year. So, I'll let them both introduce themselves, but, know the guys and they participate in the raise. And I think, given their ties to Amazon and marketing could be fairly important for our community. Could have some interesting insights.
Cool. Thanks, Mrinal. This is Amir Kabara, and quick introduction. In Amazon right now, but spent the past 10 years or so doing marketing with a big focus on building developer ecosystems and platforms. In Microsoft first, Xbox, Windows, and then Amazon. Yes, Kenny, I'm in Seattle. Then Amazon worked on kind of AWS mobile services. The App Store team really grew the applications they have from a few hundred to now 800,000, and worked very closely with Ankur as well, both in Amazon and Microsoft. Ankur, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, hi. So, can you guys hear me? This is Ankur. So yeah, whatever Amir said is pretty similar to my background as well. We have worked very closely for quite a number of years now. Right now, I had the marketing organization for the Amazon App Store, and the way I see it is there are two components to it. One is driving developer adoption by thinking about what services, content, experiences you can build for developers. And on the other side, I also own the consumer marketing team that uses traditional channels like paid media, email, content to acquire customers for the App Store, and then also connect them to content that's most relevant to them. So that's what we are working on right now. I've been in the marketing space for around 10 years now. And before Amazon, I was at Microsoft, where I helped launch both Azure as well as the Windows 8 platforms amongst the developer community.
Wow. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we're super excited to be part of the RChain community and membership, and to contribute with what we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Very, very good. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Mrinal, for the introductions. Very much appreciated. That's good stuff. I think maybe it would be really good if either or both of you wanted to engage with Ventures and Holdings, since those are growing our app stores for us. I think it'd be, I'm sure both Ed and Greg Heiss would be quite appreciative to hear your experience.
Amir, Lawrence, and Ankur and I have a meeting scheduled on Friday already, and I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
Yep. We're actually meeting in Seattle in the office.
Very good. Good. Glad to hear it.
Seattle in the office.
Okay. All right. So Michael Birch reminded me that I really wanted him to give a Casper update. He's done some really interesting work on Casper. So take it away, Michael.
Thanks, Greg. So I'll try to make this quick so we don't take up too much of your time. Essentially, I've been working on adding in this notion of political capital that was Greg's idea on top of Casper, as sort of introducing a pseudo-economic pressure into the algorithm to encourage efficient and live consensus. And what I've found is that if you allow the supply of political capital to vary dynamically, you can write down some equations around that and find that you can tune the parameters just right so that the supply stays constant. But if you deviate away from that, you might end up in a situation of exponential growth of the supply of political capital or exponential decay, neither of which would be good for different reasons. But the main issue is that if you try to enforce that sort of fine-tuning, you would have to trust that all the other nodes are fine-tuning in the same way you are, which of course defeats the purpose of a trustless consensus. So now we're working on trying to have the political capital transactions be on the blockchain itself so that you end up with everything being verifiable and the whole consensus process being verifiable, while still getting consensus on how the blockchain should proceed. So that's where our research is heading now. I do have some pages on the wiki. They're in my personal space. I'm not sure if that's been made public to the community or not. But if people are interested in more details around that, I'm happy to share those.
Yeah, no, this is really, really awesome, and I was delighted by the results that you had around proof of work and branching. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, so I could mention that just briefly, that basically if you have this notion of political capital, you can treat it in sort of the same way people treat work in proof of work fork choice schemes today, right? So today you would pick the blockchain that has the most computational work put into it, but if you have a notion of political capital, then you could instead be picking the chain that has the most political capital put into it. And that's really nice because it essentially encourages people to keep building on top of long chains that people have been contributing a lot to already, which reduces the amount of meandering that might happen as you're coming to consensus. And it also sort of stays close to an algorithm and a technology that has already been proven successful. So that would be nice if we could get this political capital thing nailed down and then use that proof of work style fork choice rule.
nothing like a little dubstep to close out the meeting there. So thanks to all. I mean, I still think we have 15 minutes we could yield back to the community, and I am anxious to get back to work. If there are any updates or any questions that we haven't touched on, please go ahead and give a shout out. Otherwise, I'm happy to close it out here and hit to 2018 with with our feet on the ground running.
Hey, Greg, this is Jonathan.
Oh, hey, Jonathan.
Hi. So I got a response back from Deborah Kaplan, who is a partner of Uta and Trebor. And she's available for a conversation with representatives of RChain Co-op to discuss how a platform co-op might collaborate and how we could provide services for them and how we can learn from them. So I wanted to ask if you want to be involved in that, or if you'd like to delegate, or if somebody from the governance committee would like to be involved.
Yes to all of that. I would. Yes, I want to be involved initially. Yes, I'd love to be able to delegate eventually. And yes, I definitely think the governance committee should be engaged.
Okay, super. So should I just ping you offline? Send you a Gmail?
Yes, please. This is great news. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too. I've been interacting with members of the community online, and I'm very impressed with what they're doing. And it is such a natural fit for what we're doing.
Oh, great! That's really good news. Very good news. Excellent.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
That's thank you. What a wonderful way to begin 2018.
Happy New Year.
Indeed. Any other updates or comments from the community?
The Digital Life Collective and RChain governance communities are very much interested in the colloquium on how we can create a non-hierarchical, scalable collective intelligence.
Sweet. Very, very good. Also, I do have another update as well. Much to our benefit, Lily Rusu will be joining the co-op as general manager, and so she's going to be helping out a lot with some day-to-day operations and coordination because the organization is just growing so fast. It's hard to keep tabs on everything, and so hopefully by yes, it is wonderful. So hopefully she'll be on the next hangout. She doesn't officially join the co-op until the 15th of January, but I'm hoping that she can join the next hangout and show her face. And she'll be traveling with me to Perm because she's a native Russian speaker. And so that will be helpful to have someone to navigate all of that, and she'll also be helping with some of the visa stuff. I think that's it's going to really help things run a little bit more smoothly. Cool. Anything else that we want to touch base on? Going once. Going twice. Silence is golden. Talk to you guys next week, if not before.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.